going? This is Dave Sebastian, coordinator of Mentoring Arts Programming with Wayside. Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Open Studios program. I am coming to you from Shirleytown, and this is my home studio. We know we're here together doing this because of the pandemic. This is probably like maybe the 18th or 19th live stream that I've done since we've been out. I've had a great time doing it. I hope you guys are okay out there. Hope all the young adults that I usually work with are safe and that everybody is, doing okay. It seems like everybody I know is doing yard work. That's okay. I love yard work. It's a super cool, it's a super cool thing. My neighborhood looks great. It does make me feel guilty that I'm not very good at yard work, So I wanted to show you a little bit about what we're doing today. Today is kind of about muted water inks. So I work a lot with ink, and I wanted to show you a little bit of what we're doing here. So the piece we're working on today is this one. This is based on a piece of artwork by Hieronymus Bosch, one of his many triptychs. I find his work to be really awesomely odd and interesting, so I figured that I would do this piece right here. Now, one of the things that we're doing, one of the things I have to do as a colorblind person is I have to lay out my inks in a really specific kind of a way. So I wanted to show you guys, kind of my my setup and kind of how I'm working that out. So over here, I got each of my inks, which are muted gray, muted turquoise, muted pink, muted violet, and finally muted green. Now this particular piece here has a lot of green in it, right? The next thing and then a couple things we're gonna add in. This is ink, as I said, and we're gonna add in one of these Inktense pencils. Ink and ink kind of go together. This is not a muted color, but I'm gonna try it out because there isn't a brown in my muted colors. I'm not great at mixing colors. So I don't know if I could create a brown. So I'm going to go ahead and work with this brown right here. And that's kind of what we're going to do. That and watercolor colored pencils. Hold on just one second as I remount my camera. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to work, I said that we're going to work with this Inktense. We're also going to work with water brushes. This one is made by Derwent, which is a company that makes the Inktense. But a lot of people make water brushes. This is a Sakura. Ninja makes them. This is a Maltao one that doesn't happen to have any water in it. These guys unscrew in the middle. This is your I'll call it a capillary system, and this is your tank, right? Now you can fit a pretty good amount of water in here. You know what I mean? Like what I do is I keep a spray bottle in the studio, put it on, jet, and just fill up my stuff with that. And then you don't have a glass or a bowl of water around that might spill, that kind of stuff. So I like doing that. It's also a good way to sort of change color. I do have a one of my little tank of water. What I'm using for my tanks here is are the bottom of dirty Solo cups. Try to recycle anytime you can. It's totally great. Obviously for our planet and stuff. And you got them laying around. Like you're gonna go buy pallets when you probably got plastic cups laying around your place. Excuse me. All right. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about my program, right? My program, I work with Wayside Youth and Family, which is a human service agency out of Framingham. We work with in a partnership with the Department of Mental Health to try to bring arts programming to the 97 towns of Central Mass. One of the great things about our health crisis that's going on is I feel as though I can reach out to a lot more young adults than I normally can physically in this virtual kind of media. This is cool for me, but mostly my job is to go out into the community and create arts programming and recruit young adults to take part in it with me. This has been pretty successful, and I've had a really good time. And so that's the deal. I have a studio in Framingham in the basement of Tempo Young Adult Resource Center. I am there on Wednesdays and Fridays from 10 to 3. These are open studio programs, and anybody 15 to 25 can come by. Tempo is also a great resource for young adults. They cover a huge amount of important life crises and needs, for example, housing, employment, addiction services. They do supervised visits and stuff. I find them, they're doing an awful lot of good and important stuff. So that's pretty much what's going on with, that's the deal with my program, and that's what brings me here to you. Like I said, I am in Shirley, and this is my home studio. The artwork behind me is a large project called The Open Comic. If anybody's interested in it, go to Instagram @toast and the word 20 and the number 3, and you can see pretty much the 75 pieces I've put up there. Today, we're going to be working on our fish. Whatever you would want to call this guy. He's the left wing of a triptych from the back of a church. Kind of interesting, you know what I mean? So we're going to see what we can kind of do with this. Oops. Got a little picture-in-picture, so you can try to chill that out. In any case, this is what we're going to work on, and this is what we're working on. So let's get to it. So like I said, I'm going to use this. This is a sepia. What I'm going to start with is this color, madder brown. I feel like, I'm colorblind, so all 3 of these are exactly the same color. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, we're also working with some water-soluble pencils. A lot of my outlines and stuff are water-soluble pencils. When you hit them with the brush, they turn into like a gray tone. So not too bad. Kind of cool. One of the things you invariably run into when you're working with pencils would be that the pencils are often broken. I'm using a barrel sharpener that has 2 sizes on it. I actually have a hand crank from back in the day with the rotating front plate on it. Always reminds me of school. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to lay in some of this ground here and see how it looks in relation to the rest of the the rest of our stuff here. Oh, there we go. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, we're just going to kind of check out what it kind of looks like. Now, what we're hoping to do here is kind of build, what I think of will be the road. This is all kind of a sandy, kind of area. So we're just going to try a little bit right here. Let's see what it looks like. Doesn't look that bad. You can add a little, kind of like sometimes to work wet and wet, Well, wet and wet with a dry pencil isn't exactly wet and wet, so we'll try to call it something else. Didn't work quite as well as I was hoping it to work. But what are you going to do? Better to have like some kind of a napkin around instead of using your finger. Today I am short exactly 1 watercolor. So I don't know, I didn't totally dig that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put down some of this brown, and I'm going to go over it with put down a little yellow and go over it with the brown. These here are Inktense watercolor blocks, kind of fun to work with. I like them quite a bit, and they come with a little key that tells me what color is what. So we're going to try a little bit of this sun yellow mixed with some of this brown. All right, I'm going to get some of this stuff. All right. Mix it with the natural brown. See how this looks. You know, that's not bad. Kind of like that. Right. This might not be a bad idea for a road. I had painted a little bit of ink white in this area, so that's kind of worked out to hold on to some of this ink here. So this hill here is also kind of this color, so we're going to have to mix a bit more. Kind of bringing up our colors, bringing down our colors a little bit. It is messy. You see we're getting kind of a darker color with the other color kind of coming through on the edges. It's pretty much what I was hoping to get, you know. Alright, we're going to kind of jump over here to a bigger paintbrush. This is an extremely large paintbrush. I'm hoping that this will help us spread the ink a little bit further quicker, which it definitely seems to have worked. These big brushes I think of as being really pretty much exclusively made for backgrounds. Because anything else, you know, it's hard to make work. I mean, unless you're working bigger. You know, they would be good for bigger. I find it difficult to work with inks really large, just because it's a lot of area to cover. You know? Cool. So now you know that we sort of figured out a good color for the ground. We're going to mix a bunch more of it. Right, see this? So that we can do the other side here. Right. So the other side, down under in this area here. You know, we're trying to do some large swipes and that kind of stuff. That underneath this guy is obviously like a big shadow. We'll be bringing in more of the shadow once we get some of the ground color to work, you know. Like I said, cool to get a lot of ink moving at once. You know, this acrylic ink, the acrylic ink that the rest of the piece is done with, is, you know, really powerful pigments, even though it's transparent. One of the great things about ink, you know, is like, you know, that's what it gives you. It gives you like a saturated transparency. I like that, you know, quite a bit. You know, I've used a number of different kinds of inks. This being my, you know, maybe the most successful. You know, obviously there's inks like Higgins that have really just been around for so long. I've wound up using them over the years. When I got out of art school, I was a multimedia artist, so I was working with a number of different types of media. So I was trying to create the right look, kind of. But when I got out, my color blindness is such a problem that I had to work in black and white basically all the time, and you know, this was not cool. You know, this really kind of screwed things up. So I was painting in black and white, and you know, I had some, you know, work doing that, but mostly it was extremely difficult to get anything kind of going on, you know, as far as work and stuff, because there's only so much work that is out there, you know, for black and white. You know, did some scratch board, you know, that kind of stuff, but honestly, just really didn't work out. Trying to bring in a little bit of this darker, you know, brown color for the shadow under this guy. Over here I have some gray for the shadow. We just go right over that, give it a little of a browner tone. You know, I feel like the shadow would take over this whole underneath area, right? A little bit of a highlight through here. This is the shadow of his big scary tail. Seems like it could be a good transportation method, since he's a little rough looking. He might be a good defender. Cheat in a little bit of cover the ground out here. So maybe the sun just hitting out here a little. You know, another great thing about ink is that it's permanent, you know, and permanent means that you can continually work on top of it and create blends with the colors that are underneath, you know. Do have to wait until it's totally dry to stick your hand on it, which I don't always do particularly well. All right. So we got a little bit of enough of our background. I was thinking about maybe just adding a little bit of just raw brown, because now we've kind of created a precedent for that. Right. But I feel like this is it's too bright. We do have a white here in the muted stuff. It's right here. So it's I don't believe this is muted in any way. I don't think there's any way for, you know, to mute a white, I guess. You know, I'm not totally sure, but this definitely doesn't say muted on it. And one of the weird things about this is I actually haven't really got a lot of liquid out of it. It seems to be like really, really thick for some reason. A little bit. Always shake your stuff, you know, which is a good way to go, but that didn't help particularly with this one. So I'm not sure. So this is just mixing a little bit of white into our brown to try to make, like, you know, kind of a mocha-y coffee color. Just that would be different. Let's just see what it looks like. Definitely different. Picking colors is really hard when you're colorblind, I'll be honest with you. I just know what color I think the ground should be. Since this is just a hill here that we're just filling in for background purposes. And again, this fade kind of thing that's going on is like a benefit, you know, like I like it, you know, because it kind of has some great, you know, has some differences and, you know, that kind of stuff gives you like a little bit of a different kind of, some differences in your coverage. In theory, it's probably best not to have your watercolors on the artwork that you're working on in case, you know, there's spills or anything. Now this line right here is drawn with the water-soluble pencils, so I'm just going to hold off on that until I'm really ready to change it through here with just continuing coverage. Whoops, dropping stuff. This line here is also the water-soluble inks. I mean, pencil. I don't know what it is. I wonder if anyone else on Facebook has such a hard time remembering the words you're supposed to be using. You know what I mean? Right. Well, getting some good brown in here. Just mix a little more dark into our coffee color. See if we can get a little bit of a different, you know, kind of effect out of it. When you're squeezing your tool, don't squeeze too hard because you can really get a lot of standing water. That is not what we are looking for. It can also work a little though to like get you some really different looking effects, you know, as it cools around. And one of the problems I feel like is watercolor paper. Like I don't know if you guys can see from there, but you know, this paper is rippling, and it's watercolor paper. There's no way it should be rippling like this. But you know. Alright, so we got our hill in the background here. Looks okay. Got a little bit of our ground over there. I use this piece of paper so that I don't put my hand in wet ink all the time. Gonna kind of switch brushes here for a sec. One of the things I dropped was a cover to this big brush. Always kind of want to rinse your brush out if you can, if you have a chance. You're not out in the woods in the pair painting, because if you pick it up and forget that it's got this other color in it, you could make a real mess real quick. Even a little, you know, because the background color's 100% blend, right? So I kind of want to go in here into this area and try to clean up and tighten up some of the colors we were doing there. So we're gonna just touch these spots and let them bloom out a little and just get some additional movement. Always pay attention to your surroundings. I am forever knocking things over. Knocking over cups of water is not something you want to do while doing artwork. You know, though I imagine it would kind of have an interesting effect. So I feel like this looks really watercolory, and I was gonna talk to you guys for a sec about watercolor. So watercolor is the world's oldest experimental medium. I always think when I say that it sounds so ridiculous, because my grandmother often watercolor painted, and she was far from an experimental artist, I feel like. In fact, she did watercolor because she knew exactly what was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's no ambiguity, because a lot of people have been using watercolor over the years. And they've taken a lot of the experimental nature of it out. You know what I mean? So, I find watercolor to be a little bit boring now because of that. Excuse me. So, take that however you want. Okay. So next we're going to, you kind of want to keep moving around. You really don't want to go back into an area that's really wet and try to make, something happen with it. Now, one of the problems right now is that I feel like this guy is right where I want it to be coloration-wise, but now it's time to soften up some of those colors and create a little bit of lighting. So we're going to have to kind of use this color, which is the muted pink, and add some white to it, and see if we could figure out a way to, bring it up a little bit. So this is our muted pink right here. Make sure you're going into a dry receptacle. These inks should last you, if not the rest of your life, somewhere close. I feel like I have finished like 2 bottles of ink in my life of painting. So they should last you a little bit. So you see, we're trying to create a lot different color than what we were working with. But it is still muted, and it is still pink. So I think I'm going to start on the back of his sort of leg here. First, because I don't think you can see it as well as some other places. There we go. Trying to bring out something a little bit, separate it from the rest of his body. To be honest with you, I feel like we even need a little bit more white. So I'm really looking for something that'll pop a little. I don't want some crazy pink. But I think these muted colors aren't going to get crazy, because they're down a bit. Touch this one into this side. Yeah, getting there. I always like looking at what I'm doing on my monitor, because it really kind of gives you an impression of what your work really looks like to someone else, because we're looking at it a lot, meaning us artists. And you get really close to something, it's hard to see past it. Not quite getting the light color I'm looking for. Getting kind of a darker color. That is definitely not bright enough. So I'm going to go right in here to our friend the white and just live mix, man. I want this to be a little lighter. You know what I mean? All right. So now we're going to switch over to our dry brush. It doesn't have any ink in it. And try to bring this down a little. Now we want it to be a highlight and have, you know, be bright. So now we're getting a little bit of a little bit more of a highlight in here. So I think that we might as well just, oops, this is our clean brush. We don't want to add paint to it. We can use this guy. All right. Go. Now you got to kind of do this quick because if you wait too long, your ink will dry on you. And then it does not look the way you want it to look. You know? Because this is a pretty bright white right here. All we're looking for is a highlight. All right. I think we'll go in with just a little more white in here in his tail. Oops. Let's get it a little bit tighter so you guys can kind of see a little bit of this highlighting that we're working on here. It's coming along. Obviously some of these top pieces are going to be catching some light. This one I think I'll just leave like that. The back of this collar. Take a look at how our tail's looking over here. I'm liking what's happening with our tail. Oh, did it again. That is our dry brush or clean brush. Okay. So we've brought in some white back here, and we want to kind of end it. But bring a little bit more down around some of these spikes. Highlight on some of these guys. Make them seem a little bit closer. yeah, that helps to make these spikes stand out a bit. I feel like if you were trying to move your church, someone suggested they had an available fish cart or fish truck. That would really make the day, right? I mean, so back to our formerly wet tool, dry tool. All we're looking to do is to try to. This is not a white part of the character. It's just a highlighted part. If you wait too long, you see you get these like where the ink was kind of puddling. And that's not really what we're hoping to get here. That kind of takes away a bit. Might need to add a little more white in here. I think we just hit the wall of white. I said a lot of the white I've been getting out of here is kind of chunky. Oh, that looks a little better. Alright. Grab a little new white. Now we did just go through this area and add this color, but I feel like it is too dark. So we're going to go into his two legs here and try to stretch it over here a bit. And then we'll give him the shadow under the bottom of his leg. But I also want to bring a little white in over here. Same idea, like some highlighting. And then just blend it out a little. Pretty much seems like for me, most painting is about putting too much of something on and then trying to figure out a way to move that around to make it work. Same thing over here. This is just the blender brush that doesn't even have any white on it. Could transfer just enough to continue making it kind of work. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. This card here is for my hand so that I don't stick my hand in wet paint every time I move. And if no one has done that, more power to you, since I have done it minimum millions of times. In fact, I almost believe I do that more than paint. Okay. So we got a lot of that going on. That looks pretty good. Got my white here. Okay, move over here a little. This is our character that's driving. Just bring him out a little so you can see him in there. Have his arm out. That definitely brings this kid up a little. I haven't really figured out what I wanted to do. Right now I'm going to go with laying down under this this thing and sort of driving from a reclined position. Because he's holding on to these ropes for dear life. All right, so we have not used it yet, but we are going to swap over to our friend Muted Gray, who is 100% the color I've used the most in this piece so far. Ought to lose in ink painting. You know, you can lose brushes and every other thing. Yeah. Oops. All right. This is a koi brush, which is the same that I'm using as my blender brush. They're pretty short. I really like it. They come in the Derwent travel set. Pretty fun. That's about $25. I think they're actually on clearance at Blick right now. Seems like nobody wants to use them. All right, so sometimes you get like a little renegade thread on your. These are nylon brushes, so how much you can always trim something off if it's bothering you. There you go. This is a little bit of a bigger brush, but I think it's gonna work. Muted Gray, our old friend Muted Gray. You don't necessarily have to shake everything, but it's not a bad idea. You know, I usually feel like it's more like aerate, because if you shake something, you actually create a lot of bubbles in it, and you know, if you were pouring paint or something like that, you wouldn't want bubbles in it. Oh, that was too bad. Put that in a color we already had ink in. I believe our pink is just turned into whatever gray and pink together are. Maybe out there know what gray and pink mixed together are, because I don't. Just want to give a little bit of a lighter gray here. I'm worried that this is going to be very dark, which it totally is. Gray is winding up being my highlight color because there's no black in the muted set. So this is basically what I'm using as a highlight color, or as an outline. You know, everything in our well, not everything, but you know, a lot of our creation is about tricking your eye, you know, into believing something that isn't necessarily there. For example, that you're seeing this, right? So that being the case, it's kind of fun to know that we can do whatever we want within the context of trying to trick your eye. For me, my artwork is about trying to represent things in a pseudo-realistic way to keep the, you know, the it is real kind of stuff going on, you know, like I'm trying, you know. All I'm trying, you know, like we're just trying to like create some level of realism, and you decide wherever you want. When I first got into illustration, a friend of mine told me that I had to stop worrying about what reality looked like and just create art. And you know, she was right about that. You know what I mean? I was spending entirely too much time worried about, you know, what reality looks like. You know. All right, so we got a little bit of our gray in there. Looks pretty good. Which one was the smudger? I think it was this one. Put over here. All right. So now we got our white over here again, a little bit. Just bring up this line a bit. You know, churches, they have really defined roof lines, I feel like. I wonder where they're moving it to. You know what I mean? They sold the lot, and now they're moving it to Kansas or something. You know, I'm thinking some of these guys back here need that same kind of effect to make them look a little spikier. I dig it. Yeah. Sorry about that. Easy to forget what camera you're using. I'm using 4 cameras here right now. And in today's world of virtual everything, everybody should try. I'm using SwitcherCast, which is a video mixing program, and it's really user-friendly. And you can add a lot of cameras and effects, and obviously the picture-in-picture, camera switching, you know, live mixing, all of these things. And they all really make, I feel like, make the quality of the work a lot better. Alright, so now we want to switch over to our tiny mix brush, which is of course in my hand. So now we know that we kind of screwed up our pink a little. So we're going to kind of have to throw that into something else. How about right in here? There we go. We only need a couple drops, so seems like I'm defaulting to this fine brush because our area is so much smaller than I felt like it was going to be. This guy seems to be a little leaky. A little bit leaky. So this is some of our darker red. I really just wanted to put it in to take up this area, and I feel like it's going to be way too hot. Don't really want any, you know, unpainted spots. There we go. Just knock out some of these guys. Also kind of good to go in and, you know, take away some of the deliberateness of our white here. Because this, you know, creature is, of course, you know, red or pink kind of. Same thing, make sure we don't have too much of it. Try to move it around. There we go. What are you guys thinking? That's after an hour of our work on it. This is where we are right now. We're going to switch back to our foolishly large brush. um, always dropping something. Can't handle it. It's kind of silly. Especially when it's in your hand. Excuse me 1 second. Only drawback to talking for 2 hours straight is that you get pretty thirsty. This is the Derwent 3. It's kind of a short wide. I have 3 Derwents here, but I'm thinking they might all be the same. Or 2 of them are the same. Yeah, these 2 look pretty similar. And that guy is different. Oh no! Oops. Trying a new mix setup today. It's kind of like over here on the side. Let me know if you guys can see anything related to that. I'm trying to have it blend a little bit better. My other live streams have been my hand reaching into the screen to change every couple of minutes. You don't need to do that. So the same thing I was just saying, if there's a nylon hair that is not where you want it to be, you can just come in here and trim it off. Try to get absolutely as close as you can, because if not, you might pick up some ink with it and put it somewhere you don't want it to be. Okay. Now right now we're going to use this flat. And we're going to use it to do a bit more background. Now, I want to give the impression that this guy is kind of walking through, sort of a landscapey kind of place. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to put a similar color than the color we have here on the ground into the background to kind of like create a kind of a camera effect. So we'll see how that goes. Trying to make that same kind of a brown color, but a little bit brighter so that it can look a little bit further away. So we're going to come in out here with this color. So this brush isn't bad as far as like being able to fill some space. Right. And while this is wet, we can jump in with some of the brown and sort of like, create a live mix, which is something I wanted to do to break it up. Get a coat of the initial color. And then just try to add, some other sort of textures. You know what I mean? A little bit of different colorations. And we're going to try to bring this stuff down to some trees that I'm a little bit concerned about because I've never been great at drawing trees. We're going to try though. So this is the hill in the distance, right? This is what we'll see between the trees. Something I've always liked about the Dutch. They're extremely good at placing their characters into landscapes, as opposed to many artists that, cop out on that. Myself included occasionally. Alright, so now we switch back to our little blender guy. And try to smooth some of these colors together. And remember, this drawing stuff around, the lines I've drawn are water-soluble graphite, so if you go over them too much, they will move. They will turn to gray wash. A little bit of gradation going on. Sorry about that. Looking at me paint instead of what I'm painting. That's the story of my life, man. Always forgetting what I'm setting the camera up for. All right. So now we got a little bit of, graphic depth and stuff happening. Now we want a good green. Now we do have a good muted green. So we're going to pull that guy out and see what we can do. Muted violet, muted green. So this is muted green right here. I don't feel like the packaging really tells the story with this color. All right. Now it doesn't matter really if some of this color gets into our background color, because I kind of want them to blend, like one is the ground and the other will be the trees. Okay. So now we're going to basically bring this in as a wash, and then we're going to go through and create highlighting with it. Going to use this same Derwent wide brush. Just one drop of white, as it's pretty bright green. Let me try to get pretty bright. It's a pretty dark green, actually. All right. This seems like the wrong brush for this task. Right. What brush should we be using? Hey, thanks for the like. You guys, I appreciate that. So remember we talked about if you're doing the background, you should probably use a large background brush. So here we are using a larger background brush. Ever notice that whenever you want to use one of your devices, they're not charged? So this wash is going to come in like this. Like hedges, like this guy is taking his cargo down a road. And of course, we're going to try to... an errant hair stuck on my brush. And you can see what a problem that is, because dragging behind your brush helps to create another different line than the one you're pulling, That term comes from pinstriping, when you're pulling a line. I'm a big fan of pinstriping. Last year I went to a training in Anaheim, California, in pinstriping. Really, really good time. Thought it was really awesome. Met a lot of great people, like Kiwi Terry, Corey St. Clair, Mike LaValle. Really great guys. Unfortunately, Mike passed away right after I met him. Really a big loss for the airbrush industry. He was a genius, without a doubt. He was the True Fire guy. He was telling us the story of how he got his break, and it's pretty awesome. Rest in peace, Mike. It's a pleasure to know you, brother. extremely talented guy. I loved working with him, man. I loved working with him. So we're going to keep, bringing in more of this background green. I want to kind of fill up a lot of this area here with it. And it's okay, again, if it's a little different, because this is going to be like hedges, so we're going to have to kind of go in with a lighter green and do some more stuff anyway. So a wash is perfect for right here. It's a pain to change brushes a lot, but this is the wrong brush to get really close to this scorpion tail or whatever this guy's got. Because if you screw up the whites in those spikes, it's going to look like you screwed up the whites in those things. So I said, this is a Moleskine book I'm working in here, watercolor book. I think Moleskine makes exceptionally good products. If you guys haven't heard of them, supposedly James Joyce wrote Ulysses in one, and Hemingway uses them. No idea if that's true, but man, it sounds cool. Know what I mean? It's easily possible. Apparently they were very, very available in England, Ireland, but not so much in the U.S. And once they came to the U.S., ironically, the company went out of business. I guess they supposedly went out of business in the early 70s, along with a huge number of paper-producing companies, as the world's paper supply changed locations. But then folks who really enjoyed them brought it back, which is pretty awesome. And now they make them again. Are they the same quality? I don't know. But I really like the idea of, I love sketchbooks, and I like the idea of an old one and something that famous, that people I respect have worked in, even if it's simply the tradition, as opposed to anything related to it being similar. I do think they made a significant effort to have it be the way it was back in the day. Looks like we're just about out of our muted gray here, so we're gonna need a little bit, muted gray, this is muted green. Alright, just looking to take anything that looks out of place white, as far as the background white, and bring in some green. A little bit of white on some of these spikes is kind of okay, because it'll make it look like they're standing out from the background. I also think I'll go in and pull the spikes out again so that they look a little bit cooler. Not sure exactly what happened right there. Coming along, let's take a look at it. I like it. I think there's some cool stuff happening. I think that's as wide as I can get to show you guys what we're doing, but I think it's, I definitely feel like it's coming along. So we need a little bit more of our muted green, which is here. Right now I have 3 brushes in my hand like this. I don't know if anybody else works like that, but I kind of always do. It's kind of weird. Alright, so now we got more of that really dark green in there. I'm going to do the same thing. Like maybe 2 drops of white. There we go. incredibly, I actually didn't get quite as much on the lid as I thought I would. All right, you guys, let's go back in. And we're still doing our green with the big brush. Let's see what we look like now. We're just going to do some more. Boy, does that look gray, huh? This is our dry brush. You know, I think this darker color again might help our pull together some of the aspects of the detail. Because we're, of course, going to have to continue adding a little bit more and more and more green, you know, because this background is basically all green. It is trees and stuff, so we're just going to have to break up the way this this shape kind of works and add a little bit more of this color around. Soften all this up. So now we want to kind of create a darker color of our horizon color while we wait for this one here to dry, because it is just a bit too wet to really work with too much. It's so funny, if you work digital a lot, you'll find while you're doing traditional work, you're thinking, 2 fingers undo. Or, man, I wish I could, like just zoom in, Like, for example, these spikes, like if I could get a lot closer to them, it would make drawing them a lot easier. But this is what we got. So I'm okay with it. So just try to get in as tight as you can, and then switch to your dry brush and pull them out a little. Just soften up the transition. Now in this area, it appears I've got just a little too much coverage, so it doesn't really want to work with me at the moment. I feel like it's good to go back in if you have too significant of a line and just try to break it out. Like if it looks like when you went in with a little brush, try to change it. Going with a little brush is totally fine unless it's really obvious, then it takes away a little. Right? Looks like we got some pretty good background stuff kind of going on. So we're going to go back over here with our big, gigantic, foolish brush. Put this one down for a sec. All right. So now we're working with our really large brush again. Excuse me 1 second. I everybody's still with me. We're about an hour in, and I feel like it's going okay, you know. So what we're hoping to do is to create this this yellowy brown that we made, but in a slightly darker version. Still need it to be sort of that color, that coffee kind of color, sandy. It doesn't look too bad. Take a look at it on my hand. It's a little dark. A little more yellow. All right. So now we're going to kind of come in around these trees with this other color, and that's going to fill our roof up to our top here. Now, like I said, there's a great thing about ink is you can overlap and it's not going to pick up or move. Where if we were working in watercolor, everything would move every time we touched it. And that's great if it's intentional, but it's extremely inconvenient when it isn't. So, all right. Whoops. All right, we're getting there. Always feels good to cover up some stuff. Alright, so this is going to be our background, some trees and stuff like that, but then we're going to throw in a little bit of sky. We'll mix a little bit of white and gray. Trying to bring in a moody sky out here. All right. Liking that. Whoops. Stuff upside down. Okay. There's that. Careful you don't take away the details you yourself created. I definitely do that occasionally. Right, so that's looking like we got some background happening. Check it out, guys. Yeah, we're definitely getting some stuff happening in our backgrounds. We're going to head back over to our muted green. My friend muted green, which is, I believe, this guy. And add a little bit more trees and stuff in here. Jump in a little with our dry brush. Okay. So this sort of like skipping and stuff is like totally fine, you know, because when we go back in to create some leaves, this skippiness will help convince us that it's, you know, trees and that they're, you know, not symmetrical or anything like that. I believe we're just about out of our green here. Oh, I did it again. That would be our blending brush. Doesn't want to stay there. All right, so let's get a little bit more muted green. Okay. A little bit of white. Let's go with 2 and maybe a little more. This time we're looking for a slightly lighter green, just to continue changing things. This looks interesting. Man, it looks great to me. Totally looks great. Definitely not the same color. here a little. I don't have a lighter version even of that. What do you guys think? I think we're going in an interesting direction. I'm kind of digging it. Alright, so I think we need an extremely light green. So we're going to look to our Inktense for that and use a little smaller brush. Seems like the liquid Inktense and the muted colors don't mind that much being together. They kind of work okay. Alright, so we need a really, really light green and a good brush to distribute it. Our flat guy. I think we're going to need a little something smaller than that. Alright, this guy's pretty small, right? This one seems to be working just fine. So we're going to check out, there's Racing Green. Have even another set here. Let's see what we got in here. Oh yeah, that might be good. Light olive. So this is another set that I have. There we go. Take a look at how this green looks. Alright, but it definitely seems a little light. Let's put a dot here. I mean a little dark. Now we got our herd of white in there. I'm going to load our brush up real good. Get in here and mix it with this white. Alright. So now we want to take a look at what it looks like. Sorry about that, guys. Probably also cut back on the amount of stuff that's right here. Alright, so we're going to try over in this area here to see what happens if we try to put some like leaves in the bushes. Right. Though we don't need a lot, you know. Just need to make it look like, you know, they're like tiers of plants. And you can change it up a little. Get something a little darker in there. You guys see this? I feel like I'm barely on the camera. Let's get up in here a little bit closer. See if we can move over a little bit. So all we're doing is to try to like add a little bit of, you know, like a planty kind of vibe going through here, so that it doesn't just look like huge sheets of green. You know, we kind of, you know, want to end one kind of bush and break up its edge a little bit. But we do want it to kind of have an edge. Then it's one bush and another. Mm-hmm. And the same thing through here. You want this one to be another bush, just as though, you know, they're driving through an odd area, so that we can. I think it's this one, right? A little bit of some different green. Gonna jump back into our dinosaur size. Rinse it out so it doesn't have that other green in it. It still kind of does. Okay. Okay, so we just want to go in here, try to break it up a little. Trying this Ionian green. We want to bring in down here is a little bit different. Alright, let's try to get our camera recentered up over here. Back out more, like all the way. Take a look at where we're at. It looks as though I've moved my camera kind of a lot. Alright. Cool. I'll just take this palette off for a sec. Take a look at where we're at. Alright. So far we got a kind of an interesting thing happening here. This is the point when the whites start to really stand out, you know, if you haven't intentionally placed them there. You want to make sure you don't leave them. Now we can go back in through here and bring some white back into these spikes because I think it would be cool. Maybe add a few more. I don't know. Okay. What to do next? I think we go back in with this this lighter color. Whoops. And continue making a little bit of leaves and stuff. Actually, first, I wanted to switch over to our water-soluble graphite pencil because over on this side we have some rope or some kind of cabling. Just wanted to reestablish them a little bit. There we go. What's cool with the water soluble pencil is you can get a really hard line out of it. And the rest of the stuff we're working with does definitely not have the same kind of a hard line. In fact, it's a different color. Is pencil muted? I don't know. Doesn't look like a problem. Now this end of the fish over here, I've been thinking that we need some gray. So we're going to take advantage of the graphite, water soluble graphite pencil. See what we can do to create a little bit of roundness in our fish, or additional roundness. All right. Don't really want one that has any other colors on it, just so we have it's the color intentional. See how it like turns to a gray, but it does definitely not disappear. Know what I mean? See, and then we kind of have an additional kind of a tone there. I kind of dig that. Unfortunately, I wish I had a white pencil like that, because that would make a big difference. I think what I'm gonna try to do here is in get this one. Yep, in the new case that I just got, there's a white. So we're going to give it a shot. Right. Just a little white. Try to bring the little bit of this fish. Now try to put this in really lightly. Liking what's happening there. Now we can really bring in some detail, because I would like the fish's face to be lighter. Dead fish are always a little on the pale side, so we can try to push a little bit of these colors down a little bit. Wow. That looks so interesting on the camera. We got our little blender guy. I'll take out some of the fluid. There we go. Alright, so definitely like what's happening there. Let's try to keep going with a little bit of this white. I want to give this fish a little stretch around his mouth. Because if he had his mouth open so much, chances are it would stretch his face a little. Sometimes there's just nothing to say. You know what I mean? We're just painting along, and I feel like it's going pretty good. I hope you guys are doing all right out there. We're gonna keep using our white for a little bit because it's helping us to build some details that I think we're gonna need. So like through here, you want this area to all be dark, but then we kind of want this area to be a little bit light. A little bit of sometimes the white takes a couple passes, but you don't want to rush it because if you put white on top of white, it turns to the color under it and kind of stops being helpful. Right. Yeah, that's looking good. Looks like we picked up a little bit of our background color there. So now so now we gotta kind of reestablish the whoops, that does not go on that. We want to kind of reestablish our these cables that we have. So I'm thinking we'll go with the water soluble pencil again and the ruler and our piece of paper so that we don't get anything on it. I have a very small ruler, which would be far better for this, but as is true and whatever, I often misplace that thing. Kind of like these things right here. Sorry about that. All right. So keep your pencil pretty sharp so that you can get the definitive line you're looking for, unless you're kind of looking for a soft line, which is your prerogative. I'm kind of looking for a little more clear line. There we go. looks a little bit more significant. And then this one. So I'm not sure if this is how they get the fish to do it, but it seems like it. This is a stick eraser by Papermate. It's called the Tough Stuff Eraser Stick. It won't erase much, but every once in a while you can get a little bit of graphite colored pencil off and that kind of stuff. So we're kind of coming into the home stretch on how much time we have today. But I'm having a pretty good time, so maybe we'll keep going for a little bit. Let's see, where do we put our pink? Or let's use that one. Whoa! Like I said, aerate. And always cover tightly all paint of any kind. Okay, because invariably it will spill. And so if you have covered it, then you'll be okay. If not, you won't. Right? Whoops. I want to use the straight version of that one. There we go. Let's her out a little. Okay. Now we're just going to bring a little pink, this dark pink in a couple of places, like here. What do you guys think? I think it's looking pretty good. So we got some of our red in. I think we'll go with a little bit more. dried up on us. Yep. How do we make that guy? I think it was this green. And a little white. So we're getting into some detail stuff here. You know, we're kind of coming into the home stretch on what I was hoping to accomplish on our live stream today. What do you guys think? You know, hasn't been a lot of comments today. I do appreciate the like, but it does seem like I need more people. I need to hear from y'all. Anybody has an interest, something they wanted to work on? As I said earlier, I'm a multimedia artist, so I have really a lot of different types of media. So if anybody's interested in something specific, throw me an email or a comment, and we will do it. You know, this is that's the motivation behind the Open Studio program is folks come in and they just say what they want to do, and we try to facilitate it. You know, one of the funnest things that we have there is spin art. A lot of fun with spin art. When I was a kid, spin art was at every carnival, and I played a lot of spin art. And so now, as a grown-up, I decided, like, hey, you know, it'd be really fun to, do some spin art. So I went online to see what, you know, where you would get a spin art machine, and I found a company that makes spin art machines, and I also found out that they were $500. And that didn't seem right. I mean, it seems like those machines should be practically free. But of course that's, you know, completely ridiculous. You know, like folks are, you know, they're spending money to build such a thing. So but I definitely did not have enough resources to get that. So I decided, like, you know, what is a spin art machine? And I realized that a spin art machine is a fan with a catcher for paint on it, you know. So I headed out to try to make one. the first place I went to was the dumpster behind my studio, and there happened to be a fan in there. So I brought the fan home, took it apart, um, got the blade off, and blunted the blade, like cut down all of the edges of the blade so they couldn't cut you, and attached basically a cardboard paper holder with rug tape on it. And this paper holder is what holds the spinning canvas. And it has worked out really, really well. You know, like it's been really, really cool. We had a great time doing it. I basically I basically used it on, I would say, more than 100 programs. And it was really awesome. You know, like it's a really good time. You know, it's very easy. Once you build that fan stuff that we were just talking about, of course, you need to build some kind of enclosure so the paint doesn't get all over you, unless that's the intention of what you're going for, the paint all over you, which I imagine some people are. I was always trying to have it be one of the less messy medias that we do in the studio, but it's messy. So wonder where she's going. So this is kind of what we're looking for, as in our background, looking for some like tiered houses or tiered building woods, so it looks kind of like right, like there's some kind of some plants around back here. Pull this stuff out. So this, overwashing is really, I don't think that you can do it with anything else other than ink. Watercolor would move. Well, acrylic, I suppose. Acrylic would stay. Well, that's about all we have time for today. I wanted to say thank you so much to you guys for being a part of my program today. This piece is almost done. And you know that we are gonna, right? So you see it, you know what I mean? See if I can move my face over a little bit. There you go. Yikes. So there we go. That is what we have done today. Like, I had a really good time with it. I think that I hope you guys had a good time with it. I'm obviously going to be continuing to work on this for a little while. If you guys want to come back next time, there's at least a pretty good chance we'll still be working on it. One of the things that I'm doing is that I am doing pieces through each of my my live streams. So that would mean Monday, 1 to 2, I'm on Instagram at Greenhouse Graphics with an X. Beginning pieces oftentimes. And then Tuesday, I'm in a closed group on Zoom. Sorry. Must be getting tired from my 2 hours. Closed group on Zoom. And then Wednesday, I'm here with you guys on Facebook. Thursday, back on Instagram, 1 to 2, same Greenhouse Graphics with an X. And then Friday, back here on Facebook again. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish this piece, but I will show it to you guys on Instagram and on Facebook if I finish it before we're together next. And if not, we will work on it together next week. Thank you so much for your time, you guys, and I will see you